Somebody had to start it, my father said. Somebody had to take a stand.
Shortly after noon, Earl Warren, the Chief Justice of the United States, began to read a unanimous opinion of the Supreme Court, ruling in 5 cases in which 5 Negro children sought the right to go to the same schools as white children. The court said, separate educational facilities are inherently unequal.
We do believe that this decision in itself will encourage the people to take further steps without litigation.
The Supreme Court decision of 1954 was for me the Magna Carta. It was the second emancipation.
On May 17, 1954, the ruling of Brown v. Board of Education was declared. The Supreme Court unanimously stated that segregated schools were a violation of the 14th Amendment, which holds that anyone born in the United States is a citizen and are entitled to their civil rights. This case took down the previous Plessy v. Ferguson's separate but equal ruling. Before this court ruling, African American students were not permitted to attend white schools, no matter the reason. Often these segregated schools attended were overcrowded, long distances from children's homes, and had poor resources. They had hand-me-downs from white schools, and teachers were paid a fraction of what white teachers were salaried. Brown v. Board of Education was a huge step in the right direction, but what is the extent of the impact it has had on America? Was change inevitable without the court ruling? What was its effect on the civil rights efforts of the 50s and 60s, and even the progress we have seen today?
The case resulted in the first integrated school in the United States to open in the fall of 1955. Encouraged by the decision, the civil rights movement began to hold high-profile boycotts, marches, sit-ins, and other peaceful protests.
Most historians actually date the start of the formal civil rights movement to Brown versus Board of Education. Brown really stokes the fervor of the nation.
One group of visionary lawyers and brave families together changed America forever.
Brown v. Board of Education was not the first step in the fight for civil rights. It had been going on in America since the Civil War through many movements, protests, and court cases. This case, though, was a huge change in society. This ruling officially started the civil rights movement and gave way to Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, bus boycotts, and other movements. This case was the catalyst for the movement and was the spark that started the fire. The civil rights movement was possibly inevitable, but this case kickstarted a huge shift in America and continued to pick up steam. As time went on, more and more initiatives and boycotts arose, marches were increasingly common, and more activists emerged, such as Malcolm X, who represented the more radical approach to civil rights. Eventually, progress was made from the legislative end with the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and 1968, as well as the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Even though major figures of this period were no longer able to serve, the movement still marched on.
The murders of civil rights leaders continued when Martin Luther King Jr. was killed in April 1968 and Robert Kennedy 2 months later. Despite racial tensions continuing into the 1990s, progress has been measurable.
The fight for civil rights has been a rough journey, and if not for the Brown v. Board of Education decision, we probably wouldn't be where we are today. We are still seeing major movements in the civil rights stage. From the Montgomery bus boycotts in 1955 to the Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, to the United States' first African-American president in 2008, there are many efforts still being made up to today. There is work to be done so that all are treated equally and have the same opportunities, no matter the race, gender, or class, and that is the duty of each American.